Keeping local and indigenous communities close and connected has the potential to protect biodiversity while making an impactful contribution to the economy. The Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Barbara Creecy, joins us now after speaking at the 9th People and Parks National Conference. We'll touch on the outcome of that event as well as on the Sanparks Tourism Investment Summit, which she also addressed. Minister, good evening to you and welcome to The Full View. Let's kick off by finding out a little bit more about this new deal for people and nature that you shared with attendees at the People and Parks Conference.
Good evening, Imran, and greetings to all of your viewers at home. Yes, indeed, it was an amazing conference that finished today with over 500 delegates representing communities that live on the outskirts of our national parks. And obviously, they are primarily concerned that our national parks should act as a source of economic stimulation in rural areas where there is often very little alternative forms of employment. And of course, this is something that our government is very committed to. Many of these communities are communities that would historically have had land claims in relation to our national parks. Many of these land claims have been successfully settled and allow communities to benefit from revenue streams from ecotourism and other activities within the national park. But there are still claims that are outstanding, and we have set up together with Sanparks a high-level panel to try and find ways to fast-track the conclusion of this. But I think that we are not only concerned about land claimants, but we're also concerned about broader community members who would want to see themselves benefiting from what we broadly call the biodiversity economy. I think there are lots of opportunities here because many of these communities have land that is adjacent to our national parks and would be suitable for game ranching or bioprospecting. And part of what we would have been discussing at this conference is how we open up economic opportunities, how we secure investment, and how we make some of these plans a reality.
Because part of the goal is to make sure that those land claimants or land beneficiaries would actually gain more value out of the land that they now have access to. Tell us and our viewers about the mixed farming models. What opportunities lie in those for this demographic that we're talking about to access that higher value, particularly around communally owned land as well?
Well, we are very shortly taking to Cabinet a game meat strategy, which we will in due course put out for public comment. And I think that what we all recognize is that with climate change, there will increasingly be parts of our country that may not be suited for the raising of cattle and sheep anymore. And plains game, various forms of antelope and so on, would be more suited as agricultural and ranging activities. Obviously, this means that there has to be a whole strategy to develop the value chain, not least of all to entice consumers to consider consuming this kind of meat. And it's this strategy that we would be putting forward. We have successfully done numerous game donations in the past, and we're currently working with the Department of Defense to secure 6,500 head of plains game, which we could then give to emerging game farmers.
Minister, I think one of the most important attributes about the work that you're doing in the sector is making sure that all of the affected communities are really part of how policy is designed, how, whatever benefit or plan making, is developed is happening with them. Maybe just share with us a little bit more about how you're going to amplify and catalyze the role that they can play in really being a part of writing their own fate and the benefit that they can extract out of this.
Well, since 1994, we've signed 46 co-management agreements with communities. And as you correctly point out, communities want to be part of the way in which management is conducted. I think that we all know that we come from a very unfortunate history where communities were deprived of their land as a result of the declaration of protected areas. And there was very much an attitude in the past that communities must be completely separated from protected areas. I think this has completely changed. But obviously, unless you're enshrining that relationship in a written agreement, and unless that written agreement is explaining exactly how communities will benefit, it's very easy for people to be cynical about these kind of relationships.
The shift to an Africanized conservation approach, Minister, how is it becoming real to both the communities involved and impacted?
Well, you know, one of the issues that I'm personally very interested in is something that we call bioprospecting. We have numerous communities in our country that have a rich indigenous knowledge of both pharmaceutical and medicinal plants and cosmetic plants. And we are working together with industry to develop value chains around these medicinal plants. We don't just want a situation where communities are benefiting because they pick so many tons of leaves. We also want a situation where communities are benefiting from the indigenous knowledge that allows all of us to know that these are plants of pharmaceutical or cosmetic value. Another area is, of course, the whole area of traditional medicines, and we've recently entered into a partnership with traditional healers, and we hope to formalize this partnership and to ensure that traditional healers could have sustainable access to the kinds of products that they require in order to practice their profession.
Minister, thanks for talking to us on The Full View. We appreciate your time. Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Barbara Creecy.